video kind of different than what I normally upload, but I am hoping that it is a video that can help a young girl, a young woman who might find herself in this situation. This was a very long time ago. It was when I was 15 years old and I was a virgin. So just to give you like a little background, I grew up, my dad was an evangelist, so we traveled a lot, and the majority of our lives being at home, 98% of the time, we only had like a year or so in there. I don't even know how much, but a little while in there where we could wear something other than dresses. But 98 or more % of the time when we were growing up, we had to wear long dresses or dresses below the knee. We didn't get to watch TV. We didn't have like any of that type of stuff, technology and stuff in our house. This is back in, the story that I'm telling you today is back in '87. So I grew up Christian. My dad was an evangelist. We traveled a lot. In this particular place that we stayed, a lot of times we didn't live in like housing. We stayed in just places. But we were in a small house at this time. And there was this guy. I'm from Humboldt, Tennessee. This was back in Humboldt, Tennessee in 1987. And this guy, I just thought he was so good looking. Like, he was just so cute. He played football, and he just was like, I had the biggest crush on him. But we couldn't have boyfriends or anything, so I never mentioned him to my mom at all. I knew better. And so one day he gave me his jacket. He played football. He gave me his Letterman jacket. And this was literally from him just hearing word of mouth that I thought he was good looking. And so that was a thing for guys to do back then. And he gave it to me, which of course I had to hide it. But that was over on a Friday. So that come that Monday, I wore the jacket in school. When I was going home, it was later on that day, things transpired. I went over to one of my cousin's houses, and we used to just walk everywhere in Humboldt. We would just walk everywhere we went. And this day I was walking from my cousin's house back to where we were living. And he pulled up by where I was walking on I don't know the name of the street, but he pulled up, and he was like, I can give you a ride home. I need my jacket back. Or no, that ain't how that worked. He said, I can give you a ride home. I said, okay. I was like 2 or 3 blocks, maybe 4 blocks away from where we were living. And so I didn't worry about it, because where we lived at the time, my dad had like our front door had carpet on the front, like for heat and stuff, because we didn't have like electricity and stuff in the house. It was carpet on the inside of the door, carpet on the outside, and the windows all had cardboard nailed up to them to keep air and stuff out. Like, you know how windows might have, you might get a breeze or something. And so he had cardboard nailed up to all those windows. And so I didn't worry about them seeing or hearing me, because you couldn't hear in there or see out. And so I was letting him take me home. And when he was driving, he put his hand over my eyes like this. And I was like, where are you? I tried to move his hand, and he kind of like, not forceful, like trying to hurt me, but he was just like held it there. He was like, hold on. I was like, where are we going? Because I could just tell it was further than where I lived. And he was like, I'm going to take you to Lover's Lane. And I was like, what is Lover's Lane? It's someplace in Humboldt. And so when he took his hands off my eyes, he was driving like into this cornfield. And like where people drive all the time, it had a, like from tires from so many people driving all the time, it made a path. And so, but when he pulled in and parked, it was like cornfield on 3 sides. The only way out is to back up and get out. And so he leaned over and tried to kiss me, and I told him, I was like, I've never kissed anybody before. I was 15 years old. And he tried again, and I just let him like kiss on my mouth because I didn't know what to do. Like I literally didn't have a clue. And so that's when he told me to get in the back seat. Now, granted, this is a guy that I had a huge crush on. Like I thought he was everything. And so I get in the back seat. I climbed over the seat. He opened his door and walked across and got in the back. And we had to wear skirts all the time. So I had a skirt on, a blue knit skirt. And he just took my underwear off underneath it and just literally proceeded to have sex with me like you would do if that's something that you do all the time. No type of easing into it or nothing. I mean, I was a virgin. And this was just straight up. And I said, no, I've never done this before. No, I don't want to do this. I kept on saying it. I said it 3 or 4 times. No, I don't want to do this. He's like, it's okay. It's okay. Be still. Be still. And so I just quit. I just looked up, like out of my head was up against like at the back door on the passenger side, how you close the door, that armrest thing. My head was on that. And I just looked out the window up above me and I just stared at the stars. Like I literally was just staring, and it had just got dark. Like how the sky is kind of purplish. How the sky is like kind of purplish. So I just stared out there and I was crying. Like tears were just rolling down my face, but I wasn't making a noise at all. And when he got done, he just got out and pulled his clothes up, and I sat right there in the back seat and just looked forward, and I saw my underwear over to the side, and I just picked him up, and he didn't say another word to me, and like literally nothing. He backed out, took me back to where we were living, and when he pulled up to our house, the only thing he said to me was, "Can I have my jacket back?" And that was it. I took the jacket off, I gave it back to him, I got out, and he never talked to me again. And so I walked in the house, and my mom was in that one room. I went straight to the bathroom because I could barely even walk. And so I went into the bathroom, and my twin sister came in there, and she was like, "Stacy, you have blood on your skirt." And I was like, "What?" That's the first time I even noticed. And when I turned and looked at my skirt, it just had blood all over it. And I lifted it up, and all over my thighs and everything had blood on it. And so my other sister, Rachel, she told me, it wasn't long after that, maybe a week or so later, she was like, well, they had a bet going, and he was at the car wash cleaning blood out of his mama's seat, and it was between him and 2 or 3 other football players. They were trying to see which one of them could get me first. And all of them knew that I was a virgin because they used to call us the biggest V's in Tennessee, because me and my sister, me and my twin, and us, like, we were virgins. Well, people thought everybody was virgins anyway because we wore dresses all the time. And so she said, "I'm telling Mama." I was like, "Tracy, don't tell on me. Don't tell Mama I had sex." And she's like, "You had sex?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I started crying. And my mom came in there and she said, "What is that blood doing on your skirt?" And I told her I had sex. And she slapped me. And my mama had some clubs, and like she slapped me. And so I was just devastated. I just cried and cried and cried. Got in the bath. She was like, "If you pregnant, you having an abortion." And I was just like, "Yes, ma'am." And so about 3 weeks later, my dad took me to Trenton, Tennessee, found out I was pregnant, and they both cried. And I just felt so bad. I felt like I let them down. By time, fast forwarded, I had my son in November, and 3 weeks, when he was 3 weeks old, we went to Indiana. And so I told one of my older sisters, Faith Ann, I said, "I don't want to go back to Humboldt because where we were living, we didn't have any heat. By the time I had my son, we were living in a potato factory. And so there was no lights in there, no running water in there. It was like cords and stuff where my dad had electricity from someplace else, but it wasn't like we had electric. Like he built up like makeshift walls and stuff, and we all had like different room types. And so, but we didn't have running water. The water we did have was cold. That he like did this hose thing. I don't know how he put it together, but it was what we could do. And so I don't fault my dad on that one bit. But that's where we were living, and everybody's like, your son is so big. And I'm like, he actually isn't. He had like six, I said six, he had 6 sleepers. I had to put every last one of them on him with all the onesies he had. This was from like friends that I had bought him stuff, and I put everything on him. He had a snowsuit, and I put all his clothes on, his socks. He had a hat from the hospital, and the snowsuit that he had, I put it on top of everything. Our snowsuits are bigger, and so he just looked like a little bear, but he was only 7 pounds and something. And so we ended up going to Indiana. My sister and her mother-in-law them let me stay at their house, and so I stayed there until I got on my feet, sort of. Moral of the story: it does not matter if you think somebody is good looking, if you think somebody is the catch, the one, if y'all are dating, if you are married, if you no means no. And people that rape, I didn't think that it was rape, because I thought when you get raped, it's somebody that's a stranger. It was, you get beat up, like all these bad things happen to you. It wasn't until my son was 13 years old, I was watching one of Oprah's shows, and she was talking about teen pregnancy and rape, and one of my cousins was actually on the show, and she was talking about then, and when Oprah said no means no, I was like, wait, does that mean I was raped? And I said it out loud, and my mom said, what did you say? And my son was 13 years old. I said, I think this was a rerun show anyway, because it was like years, like he was 13. She said, what did you say? And I said, I didn't know if you say no, that means that you were raped, if the person still does it to you. And she said, that's exactly what it means. And I told her, I said, well, that's what happened to me with Jared, or with my son. And she cried. She felt so bad because she slapped me. And she said, why didn't you tell me? I said, Mama, I did not know that meant you're raped if you tell somebody you don't want to do it. I said, I told him I was a virgin. I told him I had never did it before. I didn't even know how to kiss, nothing. And she just cried, and it took her some years to not feel guilty about that. We talked about it all the time because I did not blame her. I told her I had sex. I didn't tell her I was raped. My mother would never do something like that if she knew what happened to me. But I did not. I felt like I put myself in that position. If you put yourself in a bad position, no means no, regardless. If you are married and your mate still has sex with you knowing that you don't want to, that is rape if you say no. If you're dating, no matter what the situation is, don't let anyone talk you into doing anything you don't want to do. This is your body, and you have the right to say what goes on with your own self. So I don't want anybody to think that because you made a poor choice, or you like somebody, or they're good looking, that gives them the right to put their hands on you sexually if you're asking them to stop. If you know somebody like this, if this has happened to you, just try to be aware. Try to make better choices. Now, I will say that, yeah, I shouldn't have let him take me home. You know, I could beat myself up all day long about that, but for what? My son's 32 years old now. I mean, it's not, I can't beat myself up over, you can't cry over spilled milk, so to speak. And so just for anybody that's listening to this, if you know somebody that's been in this situation, if you have been in this situation, it is not your fault. No means no. And by all means, talk to somebody, tell somebody, educate yourself, and get an understanding of what it means when you tell somebody, I don't want to have sex. No, get your hands off of me, whatever it is. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to get their hands off of you. So